One of the guys I think is being highly underrated right now for this Philadelphia Eagles team, and this is coming from the coaching side, is offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. And I know what the main concern is people feel like, well, his reputation as being kind of a passing offense guru. The Eagles are, they're hovering around top 20 marks in terms of the passing offense, and it doesn't seem good. But I disagree. I don't think that's why Kellen Moore was brought in. If I remember correctly from the narratives and kind of the way this season unfolded, this Philadelphia Eagles offense, which was once a really big problem to deal with, it kind of got figured out later on in the season in 2023. So we needed a breath of fresh air. We needed a new concept, something that would work with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback with the skill position players we had, and we would bring it and marriage it together. And that's where I think he's being highly underrated. Because, as I've stated before, guys, I'm not sure about the language system, right? I can't tell you if it's Earhart Perkins. I can't tell you if it's Air Coryell. I can't tell you if it's a West Coast language. But conceptually, I can tell you what the offense is by the tape. And what you are getting is a throwback offense that I think is pretty exciting to see in the NFL, which is New England has always kind of run some form of the Earhart Perkins over the years. But what we're seeing, in my opinion, is a variation of the Charlie Weis early 2000s Tom Brady power run game, Earhart Perkins type system that get mixed in with that spread in West Coast influence of Kellen Moore. And what I mean by that is, when I say the spread in kind of like Kellen Moore West Coast stuff, is when they're trying to get Jalen into a rhythm. They do try to space the defense out with the spread. And they do try to space them out with West Coast concepts, those quick, moving, rolling kind of passing game concepts that we talked about in the previous video I was showing you guys. But at the heart of this offense, what has it revolved into? A variation of a power run game out of what I would call an Earhart Perkins style system. Okay? Linguistically, guys, I don't know. I'm not in the meeting rooms. Put me in the meeting room and I'll tell you exactly what it is. However, here's the thing. When you look at this, where it varies, and I know, no disrespect here, Tom, but, Tom Brady obviously was not a factor in the run game. What I get the sense is I say that Tom's like, sitting at home going, F you, Gate. I was pretty good at the quarterback sneak just like Jalen. Did you see those 4-yard runs that I was getting? Did you see nothing but dust and dirt in those 4-yard runs? You get what I'm saying, guys. Like, Tom obviously was really good at the quarterback sneak, and, he did have an impact in a power game, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Jalen's a little bit of a different animal there. With that said, if you look at this offense, some of the things you hear about the Earhart Perkins system is it's a simplified play call sheet, right? So it's meant to speed things up to make it easier to communicate between offensive coordinator and quarterback, and then you lean on the autonomy at the quarterback at the line of scrimmage to view, your front seven or to view your back seven and make decisions in the run game or pass game, right? It does devolve power to the quarterback, which makes sense when you're dealing with spread quarterbacks in particular like Jalen and these guys. Because it does make sense to bring them into this type of system because in the spread offense, the quarterback naturally is going to have some autonomy, right? Because it's an option-based stuff here. So with that said, when you look at this power, and I'm going to give you some examples here, right? 12 personnel. This is earlier in the game, right? You see, I showed you this one a couple days ago. A.J. Brown gets motioned, right? We see all the eye candy, all the stuff that goes on here, right? We missed the opportunity for the play. This is a little bit more of that quick developing game stuff I was talking about in the West Coast offense. But here we go. Like a possession or two later, we're backed up, right? And how do the Eagles come out backed up? And this is something they put in the game plan, guys. This is where you have a discussion as a staff and you say, if we get backed up and we're close to the goal line, how do we fight our way out of the goal line? Same eye candy, but they flipped the side of the field this time, right? So now AJ and the receivers, Devontae, they're on the right-hand side, okay? Now your tight ends are on the left-hand side, so they swapped it on you, okay? Same little action. AJ gets motioned out, right? Look in the backfield, though. Now you get a subtle adjustment here. We're not offset to the right of the quarterback towards the tight ends. Now we're in pistol, right? So we don't want you to know if we're going to run the ball, which way we're running it. Okay, now we're not involved necessarily in the West Coast game. There could be some optionality here, but I'm going to guess because they're in pistol, there's no option to this because your back has to be turned to the defense. It would be either play action or a run, a designed run here. And they run power. Look at your guard. Look at your center pulling through. They run power and they get up 8 some yards out of this, right? They start pushing themselves off the 10-yard line. This is what I'm talking about, guys, that power game. Look at what they're doing, man. Conceptually, look at what's happening here. We're going to kick your teeth in is what they're doing. And it's not easy to move the ball deep inside the goal line like that, guys. You know that. We've watched the Eagles falter way too many times and drives get absolutely killed because we're losing the field position battle and we're putting our offense in bad situations. But this is where I think things are kind of growing. This is one of those areas where quietly no one's talking about it. The Eagles are getting better at it. It's not always about putting points up, right? Of course you want them to go 90 yards and put points up here. But if you can't go 90 yards and put points up, you better get field position. And they would have got field position if it wasn't for a crappy kick. They did have a crappy kick that put the ball around the 40-some yard line, honestly, for Washington. It didn't turn out to be. The Eagles did their job. The offense did his job. The punter didn't do his job. So when I look at this and I see this things conceptually, I'm like, oh, man, like the power game, man. This has got some Charlie Weis, Perkins, my bad, guys, and that Tom Brady, flavor to the early 2000s is kind of what I'm seeing here. It's a little variation of it. Yeah, they want you to sneak up. Bring them linebackers up. Pack the box. Give us a 7 or 8 man box and watch what we do to you on play action passing with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. Grant Calcaterra is becoming a player inside of things now. Like, they're starting to put some pieces together, guys. Like, I'm pretty excited about the direction of the offense. I do think Kellen Moore is not being given enough credit for some of the things that he's done. Yes, the passing game, it hasn't been completely necessary at times. I mean, we've been pretty much, for most weeks, kind of icing teams away late to where we really haven't had that moment where we needed Jalen to throw the ball to lead us to victory, right? I mean, we saw it early in the year against Green Bay to run the clock out, they hit Devontae Smith on quite a few plays in a row through the passing game to kind of close that game out. We haven't really had that moment where we needed that yet. It'll come eventually. Eventually, that's going to be judged. There's no doubt about it. Whether it's successful or it's a failure, that will come. We know that without a doubt, eventually, you're going to be put in that situation. Now, the play that a lot of people have asked me to kind of go over and talk about, which is the A.J. Brown. I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. It's the Devontae Smith miss to where Devontae Smith is kind of running like a little drag route kind of concept there. And it's definitely open for a first down if Jalen pulls the trigger on it, but he doesn't pull the trigger on it. He tries to escape the pocket. They kind of do a weird loop around kind of looping action, and they get him. So I'm editing the video right now, and I think I got trolled a little bit here, guys, and it's a pretty good troll job. I really do appreciate it. Some of you guys seem to have picked up on the fact that during the summer, I was really excited about the prospects of Devontae Smith in this offense inside of a stacked set to where A.J. Brown was in isolation on the boundary, and then the inside stacked player would have been Devontae Smith because Devontae has had very impressive numbers with his slot utilization, and I think he fits the role of the CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen way that, previously they have been used inside of Kellen Moore's system. And for the first time on the season, we get that look that I talked about over the summer. And it's almost like Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts were like, we're going to knock this dude down a peg. We're going to knock Gates City down. We're going to knock his ass down just one peg. We're going to make him think we're giving exactly what he was talking about over the summer, but we're going to motion right out of it. Yeah, they did, guys. It's now dawning on me as I'm editing the video, like, yeah, they kind of got me on that one. Like, yeah, I'm seeing it now. It's a bad look on the film. It's a bad look when you see a guy who could have definitely got a first down. But if I'm being honest, I don't know if this isn't principle-based decision here. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you're coordinating an offense, guys, and you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, you want to put some things on tape, right? You want to put a notion in the defense's mind that you have to play the quarterback. So there could be principles built into where when you get a certain look from a box, if they spread out, like they're trying to guard the edges, basically, right? They're trying to contain the outside. There could be some kind of a principle that's built into that to why Jalen Hurts would basically, in that situation, tuck and run it. But because they're doing kind of a looping motion here, they catch you with it. I mean, it sucks, right? Because like on one hand, you shouldn't just go off of like what you do. You shouldn't completely abandon the concepts you're building and what you're trying to do. But on the other hand, it's not easy to stick to these things when you do have receivers like Devontae who could have easily picked up the first down. Now, mind you, if they don't loop through this play and Jalen breaks free into that second level, it's a pretty big play. But it didn't work out in this situation, and that kind of, if you're asking me like where's the tipping point there, guys, I don't know. I can't speak for Kellen. I can't speak for, the coaching staff, all the guys that are involved in this. Stoutland's involved in the run game. Patullo's involved in the pass game. Nick's going to have kind of the overall kind of arching view of it all and everything kind of being brought to him in terms of this. I don't know where the threshold is, right? There's got to be a threshold to where it's like, okay, like we had this principle, but it's cost us X amount of kind of big plays. I don't know where their threshold is there, guys, to when they maybe revert a little bit here. But I do think that they should probably look when we get a certain type of coverage mixed in with this particular type of front. Maybe we've had a few things on film now to where we go like, hey, we got to get the ball across the middle of the field here on these routes and stuff because these are open versus these looks. Our receivers are beating the crap out of this coverage when they do that. Now I will tell you this is different from the Devontae Smith. I just want to talk about AJ today, guys. The Devontae Smith route from a couple weeks ago. You guys remember when Devontae kind of came across and Jalen was kind of sticking to that wheel route on the running back, and he never. By the time he got around to Devontae, it was a dead play. And part of that I told you guys was his footwork. He would have had to make some decisions pretty much inside of the pre-snap coverage looks to basically get his footwork right to hit that crosser, and he didn't have his footwork right to actually get to the crosser in time. To be quite honest. It's different. It's not the same situation, in my opinion, that's happening there on that particular play. Is it possible that from the eyesight and the view line that Jalen has or what he's looking from the coverage that he just never saw Devontae? Sure, it's possible. But I do think that from just experience, guys, and what I know from these offensive concepts and situations, this feels like a principle that gets put in during the offseason inside of the actual, like, when you're installing your offense. There's some principle-based stuff they do, and I think when they get certain looks, there's a green light given to Jalen to win, okay, punish the defense and run. I don't know. I don't know exactly like how they go about resolving that, right? I mean, I'm with most of you guys that like, yeah, man, I mean, that's an easy pickup for a first down there if we just flip the ball to Devontae Smith. It is. They have to kind of rework some things. That's done in the film room, guys. It's done in the meeting rooms. I'm not there. I can't give you, I see it on film just like you do. I can give you a little insight to, like I said, I can talk about the fact that there are some principle-based concepts, and this is probably a principle-based concept. But I don't know. I don't know what the threshold is, guys. I don't know what the conversations are behind the scenes about this kind of thing. We just got to let it play out, man. It's a new system that's being merged together, and we have to keep that in mind. The language may have changed, and if you guys are asking me why I think the language has changed, I don't know, to be honest, guys. I don't know. But there are some reasons to suspect from Jalen Hurts' comments during the offseason about the 95% thing when I told you guys the route concepts aren't that different depending on the scheme. Like, it's not that different, guys. I mean, the route trees are the route trees. Like, they're not changing by the system, per se. Maybe how often you attack certain areas of the field will change. But really and honestly, it's the concepts of, like, the landmarks. Like, how far you're off the tackle if you're tight to formation. It'll be things like the language involved in the play sheets and the play calls. If you're using an West Coast, language-based system versus an Eric Perkins language-based system, those are very different language bases, right? Eric Coryell is very different. So if there's a change in the language, that would probably explain why we get kind of deep inside the play clock sometimes. We had a lot of close calls with, delay of games. I think we've even taken a few delay of games at times. And I think that can cause some issues, guys, to be quite honest. So that kind of leads me to believe that maybe there's a little bit of a change there with the language. Don't know, to be honest, guys, but that's just my hunch off of it. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this conversation, I would love to add you to the Cerebral Football community. I just need you to click over here to do that. Also, if you want to learn more, if you want this kind of coverage and you want to learn a little bit more about the game, you want to see the game broken down in a different way, hey, YouTube's telling me you would really enjoy this video right here, guys. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.